In recent years, the planet seems to have entered an increasingly intense sequence of natural disasters and extreme events. Record-breaking heat waves, historic floods, devastating hurricanes, massive wildfires, and violent earthquakes have started occurring with a frequency that is alarming even scientists themselves. In 2024, the world recorded some of the highest temperatures ever measured in modern history, while entire cities were destroyed by floods, extreme droughts, and uncontrollable fires. At the same time, millions of people are still trying to recover from the impacts left by the global COVID-19 pandemic and the economic and social crises that followed it. Faced with so many extreme events happening in such a short period of time, many people have begun to wonder whether Earth is entering an unprecedented period of instability. And according to some experts, the worst may not have even begun yet. Recently, warnings released by scientists from NASA, NOAA, and international climate monitoring centers have increased concerns about the possibility of major natural events striking the planet in the coming years. Among them are potentially devastating earthquakes, magnetic anomalies, intense solar activity, and even the formation of a possible super El Niño capable of triggering extreme weather events on a global scale. But why are so many scientists concerned about 2026, and what exactly could happen in the coming months? Stay with me until the end, because today we're going to understand the warning signs that are putting experts around the world on high alert. According to records from the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, the number of climate-related disasters has more than doubled over the last few decades. Between 1980 and 1999, just over 3,000 major climate events were recorded worldwide. Between 2000 and 2019, that number surpassed 7,000 events. And since then, extreme events have continued to increase in both intensity and frequency. In recent years, devastating floods have struck countries such as Afghanistan, India, Nigeria, China, and Brazil. Extreme heat waves shattered historical records across Europe, Asia, and North America. Meanwhile, earthquakes in Indonesia, Afghanistan, Turkey, and other regions left thousands dead and millions homeless. Faced with so many events happening almost simultaneously, many scientists have started to realize that the planet may be entering a new phase of global extreme events. And that raises a troubling question. What exactly is happening to Earth? Why are these events happening more rapidly now? Are there scientific explanations for this? Yes, there are. Earth is undergoing rapid and significant changes. It's not just about global warming or the depletion of the ozone layer. There are many other changes taking place on our planet that will certainly affect our climate. One crucial aspect of Earth that is declining is its magnetic field. The magnetic field plays a vital role on our planet, protecting us from intense solar eruptions that could negatively impact life on Earth, including humans, plants, and animals. However, scientists have observed that the magnetic field has weakened over the years. Professor Nicholas Tovani, from the European Center for Research and Teaching in Environmental Geosciences, concluded that Earth's magnetic field has decreased by at least 30% over the past 3,000 years due to various processes occurring within the planet's core. These processes directly impact the stability and strength of Earth's magnetic field. It is expected that Earth's magnetic field could reach a critical level sometime in the future, possibly within the next 100 years. However, there is one specific area of Earth's magnetic field that has especially concerned researchers and represents a potential risk to the planet. This area is known as the South Atlantic Anomaly. The South Atlantic Anomaly is a region where Earth's radiation belt dips down to a very low altitude, coming dangerously close to the planet's surface. This anomaly creates a weakness in Earth's magnetic field and may have significant implications, especially for South America. In recent years, scientific observations have revealed that this area has weakened even further, by around 6%. The consequences could include the possibility of solar eruptions penetrating Earth's atmosphere, followed by an increase in radiation-related illnesses, damage to satellites, and even spectacular auroras appearing in the region. However, it is important to emphasize that the negative impacts of the anomaly may not happen immediately. In fact, it could take several more years before these effects are felt on Earth's surface. However, even worse events have been predicted for this year, which, according to NASA, could significantly affect North American regions in particular. This disaster could become the largest the world has experienced in 200 years, all because of another anomaly on Earth, the San Andreas Fault. The magnetic field anomaly in the South Atlantic region also represents a threat in terms of potential earthquakes. The San Andreas Fault, where the North American and Pacific tectonic plates meet, is a zone of major seismic instability. Although magnitude 10 earthquakes are extremely rare, scientists warn that the fault could trigger tremors of apocalyptic proportions. One historical example of a major earthquake was the 1755 Lisbon earthquake, which reached approximately 8.5 on the Richter scale and resulted in massive loss of life and a gigantic tsunami. The constant movement of tectonic plates within Earth's crust can cause devastating tremors, and the San Andreas Fault remains an area of major concern because of the interaction between tectonic plates in the region. The thinner tectonic plates, measuring between 50 and 100 kilometers thick, are called oceanic plates, while the larger ones, measuring between 125 and 200 kilometers thick, are called continental plates. Although Portugal is located near the boundary between the Eurasian and African plates, that alone did not fully explain an 8.5 magnitude earthquake. Earthquakes of that magnitude typically occur only in areas where an oceanic plate sinks beneath a continental plate, generating massive secondary tremors. Portugal's oceanic and continental plates do not fit that description. They interact in a relatively stable way. However, experts detected a rupture in Earth's crust between the oceanic and continental plates, which was identified as the cause of the event. The San Andreas Fault in California is one of those regions with the potential for something equally destructive. It was first identified by Professor Andrew Lawson in 1895 and was named after the nearby San Andreas Valley. From an aerial perspective, the fault line can clearly be seen cutting across the landscape. It is also possible to observe a dark layer of rock between two larger formations, which is where the fault itself lies. The San Andreas Fault is known as a critical point where two of the world's largest tectonic plates meet. The region is famous for being associated with major seismic disasters, such as those portrayed in the movie San Andreas. Although the movie exaggerates the earthquakes that regularly occur in the area, experts from NASA and geophysicists have issued recent warnings indicating the possibility of a significant earthquake striking North America in 2026, potentially resulting in destruction similar to what was shown in the film. To better understand this, let's take a closer look at the structure and mechanics of this fault line. The San Andreas Fault forms the tectonic boundary between the North American and Pacific plates. The San Andreas Fault is a location where two tectonic plates slowly move alongside one another in a lateral sliding motion. The fault is divided into three distinct segments, each with unique characteristics. However, variations in the slip rate make this fault highly unpredictable. The slip rate refers to the speed at which the plates move relative to each other. Scientists observe and measure the displacement of geological features along the fault to determine these slip rates. While most geological faults move only a few centimeters per year, along the San Andreas Fault, these rates can sometimes be 2 or 3 times faster, or in some cases, slow down significantly. The reason for these variations is still not fully understood by scientists. Researchers believe this fault has been responsible for, or directly connected to, several earthquakes across North America and other high-risk regions. Numerous tremors occur in these areas, especially in California and Alaska, most of which go unnoticed by the rest of the world because they are relatively small in scale. The San Andreas Fault is believed to be directly or partially related to many of these events. In addition, experts have identified both the direction and manner in which these plates are moving. The North American plate appears to be shifting toward the Pacific plate in a southwestern direction. Scientists believe this movement is causing large compressive forces to build up and dissipate throughout nearby regions. It is important to note that millions of people live near this fault zone. Therefore, it would be truly catastrophic if the plates were to suddenly rupture and trigger major tremors, as some experts fear could eventually happen. If you're wondering why this still hasn't happened, it's because a major tectonic plate shift takes time to build pressure. The compressive forces in that region have been accumulating for years, and it is only a matter of time before they are eventually released in the form of a massive earthquake. That is why experts and scientists are concerned. The risks associated with faults like this are extremely high. If a major earthquake were to occur along the San Andreas Fault, it could disrupt major transportation routes across several parts of North America. But there is a major problem. NASA revealed that there has not been a major stress release along the San Andreas Fault since 1857. That means pressure has been building for more than 150 years, which is deeply concerning. According to the United States Geological Survey, this time frame fits within the interval associated with catastrophic earthquakes. Catastrophic earthquakes tend to occur approximately every 200 years. This suggests that the San Andreas Fault may be approaching another major series of tremors. Experts are carefully monitoring signs of seismic activity and warning the public about potential dangers. Scientists have developed models to study how an imminent earthquake could affect a specific region and whether it might spread into adjacent areas. In the event of an earthquake reaching magnitude 9 or higher, significant propagation effects could impact other regions such as Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, and parts of Latin America. These effects could include tsunamis and severe climate disruptions. Experts predict that the death toll could reach the thousands, since secondary tremors may continue for several days after the main event. It would be impossible to predict which parts of cities would survive. Buildings would suffer severe structural damage, especially because specialists also predict that massive fires could follow the earthquake. In fact, experts believe the fire damage after a major earthquake could be even worse than imagined if the Santa Ana winds were blowing when the earthquake struck North America. The Santa Ana winds are largely responsible for many of the wildfires that erupt across the region. We only need to remember the massive earthquake of April 18, 1906, which reached magnitude 7.8 and caused enormous destruction throughout the area, killing more than 3,000 people, destroying over 80% of the city, and generating financial losses exceeding $400 million. That disaster illustrates the devastating potential of an even larger earthquake in the same region, not to mention all the secondary damage that could unfold in the following days. If a major earthquake strikes the area in 2026, material losses could reach billions of dollars, thousands of lives could be lost, and the economic consequences could be enormous. But beyond the earthquake warnings, NASA has also been warning about another terrifying force that could strike North America, bringing some of the worst weather conditions ever recorded. That force has played a massive role in the planet's most recent extreme climate events. It is called El Niño. El Niño is a climate pattern driven by changes in the temperature of the Pacific Ocean. There is another force called La Niña, which lasted from September 2020 until early 2023. In simple terms, El Niño refers to unusually warm sea surface temperatures, while La Niña refers to unusually cold sea surface temperatures. These two climate patterns affect weather conditions in multiple regions around the world. Until recently, the planet was experiencing a rare, prolonged La Niña event that lasted nearly 3 consecutive years. When it finally ended in 2023, scientists began noticing something extremely concerning happening in the oceans. Pacific Ocean temperatures started rising far faster than normal, creating the perfect conditions for one of the strongest El Niño events in modern history. But what initially seemed like only a prediction soon became a frightening reality. The 2023-2024 El Niño was officially classified by the World Meteorological Organization as one of the 5 strongest ever recorded in modern history. The phenomenon helped turn 2024 into the hottest year ever measured on Earth, pushing global temperatures to unprecedented levels. Extreme heat waves struck South America, the United States, Europe, and Asia. Severe droughts destroyed crops, while historic rainfall triggered devastating floods in many parts of the world. In Brazil, experts linked El Niño to the historic floods in Rio Grande do Sul, along with other extreme weather events that affected millions of people. Scientists warned that the heat accumulated in the oceans during that period reached abnormal and dangerous levels. In India, some regions recorded temperatures above 50 degrees Celsius, causing deaths, blackouts, and water supply crises. In Canada and the United States, gigantic wildfires consumed millions of hectares and covered entire cities, with smoke visible even from space. Meanwhile, the Amazon rainforest experienced one of the worst droughts in its history, with rivers reaching record low levels, while Rio Grande do Sul suffered catastrophic floods that left entire cities underwater. In China, historic flooding hit the southern part of the country, while extreme drought punished the north. Across parts of Africa and Europe, violent storms, agricultural collapses, and record-breaking heat waves began alarming governments and scientists alike. Many experts started to believe that the El Niño of 2024 was not just another climate event, but a sign that the planet had entered a new era of global extreme weather phenomena. Now, in 2026, new climate reports have raised even more concern among specialists. Recent data from NOAA and international meteorological centers indicate a growing possibility of a potential Super El Niño, an extremely rare and powerful phenomenon that could rival or even surpass the devastating events of 1997 and 2015, which are considered among the most destructive in modern history. Scientists warn that sea surface temperatures in the equatorial Pacific Ocean are rising much faster than expected, in some regions surpassing levels considered critical for global climate stability. Some researchers believe this could become the most intense event since the late 19th century, drawing direct comparisons to the massive Super El Niño of 1877. The Super El Niño of 1877 became known as one of the worst climate disasters ever recorded by humanity. At the time, extreme droughts devastated parts of India, China, Brazil, and Africa simultaneously, causing massive agricultural collapses and global famine. Historians estimate that between 30 and 50 million people died directly or indirectly because of the climatic consequences of that event. In India, rivers dried up completely, and millions faced severe famine. In northern China, entire crop systems were destroyed. In Brazil, the Great Drought of 1877 in the northeast became one of the worst humanitarian disasters in the country's history, forcing mass migration and causing hundreds of thousands of deaths. And all of this happened on a planet that was far less populated, industrialized, and dependent on global supply chains than it is today. And that is exactly what worries modern scientists. Today's planet is hotter than at any other point in the industrial era, meaning that a new Super El Niño could strike an already extremely unstable climate system. Experts estimate that the phenomenon could temporarily raise average global temperatures by as much as 1.5 degrees Celsius above historical norms in some regions, intensifying deadly heat waves, massive wildfires, extreme droughts, and unprecedented storms. Some climate models indicate that certain areas could experience heat indexes above 50 degrees Celsius for several consecutive days. In addition, warmer oceans could fuel much more violent hurricanes, while agricultural collapses could trigger global food price increases and new humanitarian crises. In some climate projections, entire regions across South America, Africa, Asia, and North America could face simultaneous extreme events between late 2026 and early 2027. Scientists warn that if the potential Super El Niño continues strengthening over the coming months, the world could witness one of the most dangerous and destructive climate periods ever recorded in modern human history. What is most frightening is that despite all these warnings, most of the world's population still does not fully realize the scale of the risk that may be forming right now. While scientists monitor overheating oceans and increasingly alarming climate models, billions of people continue living normally, completely unprepared for what could happen in the coming years. Unlike an earthquake or an asteroid, a super El Niño does not destroy everything in just a few seconds. It acts slowly, weakening crops, drying up reservoirs, fueling wildfires, intensifying hurricanes, and pushing the global climate toward extreme levels of instability. And perhaps the most disturbing part is exactly that: the possibility that one of the greatest climate threats of our time may be approaching silently while the entire world is still debating whether or not it should even be taken seriously. And what about you? Do you believe the world is truly approaching a new era of extreme climate disasters? Or could all of this simply be another exaggerated alarm? Are we ignoring warning signs that are far too dangerous to dismiss as coincidence? Leave your opinion in the comments, because this may become one of the most important discussions of the coming years. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.